Before I start this, very quick disclaimer. I will get back to my usual content. However, I think this is really topical and I think we should be talking about this as business owners, as entrepreneurs in the UK. I might say some things people may not agree with, but I think on the whole, it just needs to be said. And here I am being that one person to talk to you all about it. So recently, only a couple of days ago, the recent budget was announced for the UK. It affects people personally, and it also affects businesses as well. And in the last maybe 5 or 6 years since I've had a business, I've looked into this a little bit more and sort of kept an eye on it when these changes sort of come up every quarter or so. And the change of government, when anyone changes government, they always blame the previous people in terms of, you have spent this much money, you have done this, and now we're picking up all the pieces. So I get it's never hard when a new government comes in, especially from a Conservative government to a Labour government. I will try and keep politics aside whilst mentioning these things for you today. But I have a bugbear, right? And the biggest bugbear is over the course of the last several years, especially since COVID and sort of COVID's gone and the economy sort of growing back to where it is, the UK government really hasn't done anything to help support small to medium-sized businesses or even larger businesses. And we are employers. We employ people around the UK. We subject ourselves and encourage other people, and we do so ourselves to boost our economy, right? So whether that we bring in new trade from different countries, we have contracts with clients, obviously on a very small scale for us, but with a lot of people and a lot of businesses, especially bigger companies and bigger corporations. Obviously, Brexit was a whole thing. We won't talk about that today. But when it comes down to budgets, obviously the government do it to bring in more money to the country, right? It's to help the so-called economy. And things that they have announced in the recent budget is sort of the icing on the cake. And I personally think there is more to come. There are talks of an exit tax, whereas if people leave the UK and go to another country, you'll be paying a percentage of your net worth, of your earnings, etc., which is what a lot of European countries have done. I think Germany is one of them, where you leave Germany and you sort of hand over your tax residency to another country, you have to pay what is called an exit tax. And I think that is going to happen very, very soon in the UK because a lot of these things are changing all the time. The biggest thing that's affected a lot of small businesses is a change in national insurance contributions. It doesn't affect employees, it affects employers. So us as a business, every month we pay national insurance contributions for all of our team. Now, it used to be, I'm going to quote myself here, 13.8%, and that is going to 15% starting from April 2025. Now, it might not seem a very small percentage increase, but it is. When it comes down to a monetary value, I think it's costing an average employer between £600 to an extra £1,000 a year per employee. Now, if you have 20 employees, that is a lot of money that you have to find from somewhere, whether that be increasing your costs or taking on bigger clients, I don't know, selling more product. It's going to be very hard for those smaller businesses to pick up that cost, right? And of course, it is just one of those things of owning a business. We went from whatever it was, corporation tax, to now, we won't talk about that. But I think over the next year, especially with the new government in particular, I think more of these changes are going to come into place, which are going to hurt small businesses. And we must not forget here that we were in an economic crisis. Obviously, you have the cost of living. Ever since really COVID, things haven't really picked up in the economy. In certain industries, it has. In certain industries like hospitality, for example, it's plummeted massively, which is completely understandable. In terms of building, cost of materials have gone up as well. And all these sort of small and minor changes are going to affect people in the long run, like people that have 20 to 50 to 100 employees. The amount of additional cost that's going to cost the business per year is going to obviously dip into profits. People might have to let people go. And it is a very scary time for small businesses. And the biggest gripe that I have is the government don't incentivize small businesses in order to do better, right? A great example of this is when the corporation tax increased, there is a degree of people, I'm sure, who would think, well, what is the point of working harder to get taxed more? obviously that would be down to profitable income. But when it comes down to taking dividends out of a company, that is also and has gotten ridiculously high over the past couple of years. And it is more cost effective, yes, to take dividends rather than a salary, depending on what numbers you're pulling out. I'm not giving financial advice here, but it can be a beneficial thing for people to do, especially entrepreneurs and sort of self-employed people, to set up a limited company rather than sort of do self-assessments. It is more tax efficient. But the biggest thing, as I said earlier, is there's just no incentives for smaller businesses, and especially with the increase in capital gains tax. So that means if you are to sell a business, that would be classed as an asset, depending on the certain type of business, I believe, which means you'd be taxed when you sell your business. There is also a thing now, which not many people know of, is called Entrepreneur's Relief. It was set up, I think, a number of years ago, and it is basically the first million of when you sell your company is tax-free. So you would not pay any personal tax on that. Again, I'm not giving any financial tax advice. It's just from my own research online. Now, the important thing to note is when Labour did their manifesto, it very clearly states in there that they are wanting to remove Entrepreneur's Relief. Again, I'm not getting into politics, but another reason why we need to be very vigilant when it comes down to owning small businesses and medium-sized businesses. What a lot of people are doing, a good friend of mine, several of my friends, left the UK a couple of years ago when they started to see these things happen. They moved to places like Dubai, for example, which is great. There was no corporation tax. I believe it's now a couple of percent, which is still a lot better than the UK. Now, what a lot of people are considering of doing, including myself and Jake, is we are looking at moving from the UK to another country. Countries like Cyprus, for example. Cyprus is like 4 hours away compared to 8.5, 9 hours to Dubai. It's a lot more safer in terms of myself and Jake's situation. And the corporation tax is 12.5%. You also get 0% dividend tax for 17 years. You get a lot of sun, a lot of vitamin D, and a lot better quality of life. And if every business owner moved to Dubai that was British, if every business owner moved to other places, what's going to happen to the economy? Because it isn't just us that are thinking about leaving, it's other people that I know that own digital marketing agencies, that own SEO agencies, that own manufacturing companies, and they are thinking about moving the business and the company over to a different country. Because of course, if you are to set up a business in another country and you are in the UK managing the company, you will still be taxed in a UK percentage. You're not going to get any tax benefits from doing it. And a lot of people might watch this and say, well, you should be very lucky because you own a business and obviously do very financially well in terms of the business. Absolutely, 100%. But I have never come from any money. I've worked very hard my entire young life that I am at the moment. But to work ridiculously hard, and like I've said to several people, there's no incentive for us to work harder. Us working harder boosts the economy. Yes, only a very small percentage because we'd have to employ more people, we'd be supporting more businesses in the UK and worldwide, etc. But there's no incentive for us to do that. There's no tax breaks. Yes, you can come down to the conclusion that tax is important, absolutely. But there are countries like Cyprus, like Dubai, that have very good structures in terms of what they deliver to the people that live there. Dubai being a perfect example, but the corporation tax is very, very minimal. And of course, the personal tax there as well. So why is it that within the UK, and obviously there is past historical things that happened that is obviously causing this and why they are doing it, but I really think the UK government need to work with small to medium-sized businesses, even bigger businesses, to help them, because at the end of the day, we're all in the boat together and we want to boost the economy. And yes, tax is an important thing. I'm not saying that you shouldn't pay any tax at all. I think it's important for how the economy is structured, how everything works. But I think we really need to do something to help small businesses to continue to employ more people and boost the economy further, because at the minute, it's not helping, right? There you go. Small rant for you. This is the second one on the trot now, but I'm sure you appreciate where I'm coming from, especially a lot of people that are listening to this that are business owners themselves. It is so important that we do something going forwards because we need to. Stay awesome, stay safe, but most importantly, stay nerdy.